couples, let's talk about love.
We're not experts, just taking you on our journey of love.
Hey, babe,
How are you?
how are you? You always got this sexy, hey, babe,
Well,
how are you?
that's just me. That's what I got you hooked with anyway.
You did,
You
you
know, it was
did.
like, ooh, his voice sounds nice. He got a radio voice and a model face. I like
Listen, you.
that.
So today we're gonna talk about not tonight.
But when?
So you all about to get some down and dirty info from us today.
There you go.
You okay with that?
I'm okay.
I'm okay too.
You okay?
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
You okay?
You okay? I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Let's do this. So, hey,
If not
man.
tonight, when? So, that's the age old dilemma. Well, I mean, there's multiple dilemmas,
Yes.
because we could say, what do you want to eat?
And I'm like,
And
I
that
don't
could be a
know. What do
whole
you want to
nother
eat?
thing, but then you have, if not tonight, when? So, if you don't, what are we going to eat will be a whole nother topic that we'll get into. But this one, not tonight, when, comes up in marriages. I mean, and could be a whole host of reasons why it doesn't happen.
And we want to say this is going to be a part of our intimacy series. So
Hmm.
this is the start of it, and it's going to go, I guess, a couple of episodes.
Yes, 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 yes. So just thinking about it, like sometimes, one person's in the mood and the other one's not. And they got to figure out why, when, how, what. So you think about like what kind of things would change that feeling for you.
Well, I know at one point when we were first into our whole relationship, we was like at it like Energizer bunnies
All the time.
all the time. And then, the issues and problems came and it kind of like, eh,
I don't know if it's true. It's also real life.
yeah,
Like in the beginning, it's kind of, it's like an interview. When you're interviewing, you put on your best and everything is perfect. And, but then you get to the job and you don't, it's not the exact same. So I think once you start incorporating real life into it, then real life comes up. And real life means conflict. Real
yeah.
life means stress. Real life means, outside influences. Real life, there's all these different things that come into the real life as opposed to the initial just like,
We just getting it in.
hey, we're feeling each other, completely because those outside things are not there yet.
Well, and not only not there like yet, they're irrelevant at that point because
Yeah.
it's about a need that we want to fulfill. I believe
Hmm.
like we had this need to explore each other, and the explorations were great, and we
Yeah.
wanted to keep exploring, and we wanted to, try different exploration places,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And then the life stuff started to come in because then we made this commitment that okay, we're gonna do this.
Yeah. And then it changes because now you're seeing each other more.
Yes.
I mean, think about real life. I mean, like you're literally again going in for your interview. It's one time. Now you're going to work 5 days a week. Like so. It's
Well,
like
7 days a week
but now
nowadays.
it's 70. Like you're together, so it's like this is your person. And you see everything, you hear everything, you feel everything. So all those things come into a factor, and now you have to adjust. And I think that's the hard part
Yeah.
is the adjustment because if we're not in a good place, then it's hard to push that next thing. I know there's people that say like, oh, they have the makeup sex and all that, but
I think the reality is makeup sex is one thing, but the harsh life of reality is another. Like what brought on these intense moments of unhappiness or intense moments of this argument got so deep that
mhm.
it's almost there's no coming back from that.
Or it may not even be an argument. Maybe you're just not connecting.
Yeah.
In our last one, we talked about uh, how no more date nights. We don't need more
Yeah.
date nights, and we talked about how a date night could become mundane as well, and you need to connect. So like if you're not connecting,
Yes.
and I mean like you think about it, chemistry. We talk about it with movies. Oh, some actors together and actresses they really good together. They got that chemistry, and like people have that chemistry. You could be attracted to somebody and not have that chemistry. And you could be not attracted to somebody and have that chemistry. Like so the chemistry, that connection, that bonding is also a part of the intimacy, a part of that feeling, like
And
I
I
want
don't
to be with
think
this person.
and I don't think we weren't attracted to each other or we weren't connecting. It's just that there was some disconnects
Well, I think there
somewhere.
was a misconnection in some places, like where we just at some point you get into a routine. I mean, we've gone through the different cycles within the relationship
Yeah.
where sometimes you're in a routine and you're like, you feel like you're on autopilot. You wake up, you make breakfast,
Yeah.
you iron clothes, you drive in, you drive back, and in that time it's a lot of, if there's superficial connection where you're just doing your routine. And because you love this person, you keep on that routine. But necessarily, have you truly connected? Like, are you enjoying your time together, or is it just your time together?
But I think we do enjoy our
I
time
do, but I'm saying
together.
that we've also had a time where we were just having time together.
Mm.
Where it was just we were just doing we
Going through
were
the
yeah,
motions.
it was just what it was. I mean, had nothing to do with the love. You love each other. I think you can love somebody, you can love somebody and be in love with them, but still not be connected in a
Mm.
deep way. And that makes a difference where you may.
But what got us there, though? What got us to that not being deeply connected?
I,
That's the question.
yeah, I think that's different things. Arguing.
Yeah, and we
This,
got to keep this one that we don't have any little children, we don't have any
yeah,
babies, so that's out of the equation most
but that could be a
definitely.
factor for other people. Like
Exactly,
having
but
kids. So it's
we're
a yeah,
speaking more so
yeah.
of
So we're
not
just
having those.
yeah. So not even even outside of that, because we understand that that's a whole separate
Yes.
piece there, and because our relationship didn't start with little ones, and
Hmm.
it has no little ones now, really, because we have grandkids. We can't really speak on that. So,
Right. So keep
just
this in the
know, keep it.
context of
This
yes.
is just but also know for those couples that do have kids that you're not alone, because this does
Exactly.
happen to couples
Yes,
that
it
don't have
does.
kids as well. Getting into that mundane life, that routine can be scary. You
So
know,
I know for me, I'm going to say this. My turn off would be like if we get into this argument. So let me just say this. Jason is more forgiving than I am. I kind of like hold a little bit of a grudge. I hold that
you
in.
do know.
Oh, shush. And I think my turn off is that he can so easily say, it's over, done, I'm moving forward. With me, I'm holding on like, no, I'm not done with this. I'm still upset, which then filters into, don't even look at me, which then filters into, don't touch me, which then filters in, I'm sleeping at the edge of the bed. And then that intimacy is pretty much gone for me because I'm still in the moment
Hmm.
and he's past the moment. But I don't want to argue about it, but I want him to acknowledge that I'm still in this moment. Not that I love you any less. And I think if that was the case, if he would acknowledge that, okay, she's still in this moment, let me just, you know, either stand down or acknowledge I know you're still upset. So
That's why I
when
just
you're
sit back.
ready, huh?
Now I just sit back.
Yeah, like when you're ready, then we'll talk about it. But
Hmm.
now it's gotten to that point where he's like, okay, I see she's still in the moment. And I think that's where the intimacy kind of fell apart for me, because you're not acknowledging. So I don't even want to be bothered with you. And it's like, well, come on, come on. I'm like, no, I'm not into it tonight. And then the next night, come on, come on. Like, no, I'm still not into it. And you're like, okay, damn it, when? When? How long are you gonna hold this? And I think it was because I needed him to acknowledge that, and respect the boundaries for me.
Hmm.
And as we get older, especially for myself, there's an age difference here, for us. Not much, but still an age difference. And they said men peak, their peakness comes down at age 60 and 70. Good gracious, y'all, some horny men. And women, ours kind of start at late 40s, early 50s. So I'm actually 55.
I'm 48.
So it's I guess it's between those times now. Like I think I try to keep it moving.
And you do. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. It be there. And I think it's just a matter of, I mean, like I say all the time, we got our whole lives ahead of us.
Yeah.
And I think in the beginning, you're like, you don't know how long it's gonna last, so you're trying to get in as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that good meal, and you're just like, oh my god, it's so good, and I'm going to keep eating it. Like versus now, it's like, oh, I can come back again. I can save some for later. Like it's not going to end. I mean, like where are we going? You're
Yeah.
right here, so I mean,
Oh, see how
it's
much I love this man.
so it ain't going nowhere.
And the best part for me is when we do get into that moment, I do really and truly feel that connection. Like like I'm more of a like you have to physically like get me in the mood. I think my husband just looks and he's like in the mood.
There you go. That's where it's supposed to be.
Like whoops, there you go. I'm like, oh, goodness. And I think it's more like a serious, deep intimacy for me that I need to connect
And
by
also,
touch, by kiss, by like those are my.
and for me, I just want to keep letting her know that I'm very much attracted to her and still
He
into her. So
does.
I keep going.
He
I keep telling
does.
her, like, hey, I always say, like, if I don't, make an inappropriate statement or something like that, that's when you worry. I was like,
He did say that.
but you ain't got to worry about that because I'm still doing that
He
always.
does. And and when we do get that very intimate, very like connecting moment, it's there.
Hmm.
And then it's intense. And it's like and it could be we it's been a minute. But
Could
it's
also been
still
yesterday.
it's still there, and that makes me feel even more like, oh, okay, he's still there, he still loves me, and I really appreciate him, you know walking with me, being understanding, you
And there's a
know
part of it that, for me, it goes back to just something I always believed that, um, partners should fantasize about each other,
mm,
and, dream of that person. So it's fine, and the whole idea of the fantasy is it's in that moment, it's not reality. So it's fine to fantasize, especially about your significant other, because that's ideal, so that when it does happen, your mind has built up
mm,
this fantasy about the person, and it could be, something they wore, it could be something they said, it could be something that happened the last time, it could be something from the first time, like so you keep those in your memory, you keep those connected, and that builds up on that intimacy, on that moment, on that connection. And I think that's important. I think oftentimes we forget about those things. We put them in the past, regardless of how far. I mean, it's been 13 years since we first got together,
yeah.
but I still remember that night. It was, I don't know how, because we was a little bit inebriated, but it was all right. It was fun. It was a good time. But we had a great time and we kept it going. So good, we stayed together the whole weekend. I'm just saying.
Oh my
I'm gonna
goodness,
keep putting that out there.
we're not gonna go there yet.
But but you keep connecting to those moments. Like and that's what is important.
I think the hard part for me is that like like a I'm not saying that it becomes irrelevant, but like a movie I watch at that moment and then I let it go. I need to learn to fantasize. But what I do think about is like I'll be sitting somewhere and I think about like, oh, that was a great kiss he gave me, or oh, I like when he touched me there. Then that gets me like, oh, excited. And those are the things that I think about more so, not a fantasy, but more so an actual remembrance of a good touch, a really passionate kiss, a really like brush against my breast kind of thing. It's like, oh, that was nice. Or like the other day, and he paid for everything, and I was like, oh yes. He said, now you make sure you remember that when we get back home. And what happened? We was tired. We both went to
Go
bed.
right to sleep.
And and it's other things that come into place as well, like stressors and anxieties, and like
Yeah, just everyday life. I mean, like stuff that it may not even be, and it may not even be about your partner.
oh, absolutely.
This could be about work, could be about your family, could be about your kids. All these other things that come in that, at the end of the day, if you're thinking about that, then your mind is not going to, oh, let me be naked for my significant other. Like,
Hmm.
so somebody is sick,
Yes.
somebody is hurt, like,
Or you're sick,
or
or
you're sick,
you're not
yeah.
feeling well.
So that makes a factor. And as the other person, you have to recognize that and know that it's not about you. And I think that's the piece. Like if
Mhm.
you genuinely are connected, then you realize that this is not about you. I think what comes into play is that people start taking it personal, and start feeling like maybe they're not attracted to me or they don't want me anymore, and isn't that. How about they got a lot going on,
And
and you're just not recognizing the fact that they got a lot going on. Maybe start with, what can I do to take this off your plate? And that may change everything. I mean, those little simple words could literally bring the person into saying, oh, a weight has just lifted off my shoulder. Now I can look back at you and be like, ooh, hey, since I got some space in this space, let's go
that's
there.
like, this is what makes me love this man even more. Like, we're kind of going through that. I'm going through a lot of stressors right now, a lot of anxiety, and I so appreciate the fact that he says, you got a lot going on. And I see that. You have no idea how much that makes me feel better, give me a little bit of a reprieve, not that it has nothing to do with him, nothing at all.
Yeah, and but you got to get to a point where you understand that, and that's not overnight. It's
Yeah,
taken me some time to understand, but it's because of the connection. I think that
got me over about to cry.
that's the key. Like when you connect and you feel that connection, then you understand what the other person is going through. So it's not just sympathy; it's empathy. You're empathizing with them, and when you empathize with them, like now you understand it. So I believe that is where it helps, because now it's not, oh, so if this ain't about me, because even if it's let's think about it even in terms of an argument,
Mhm.
it's still not really about me. Monica just said, you be stuck in your thing. I'm past it, so I'm done. We've closed it. I've apologized. You've apologized. Whatever it is. But if you're still stuck in it, it ain't got to do with me. Ain't nothing I can do except for just let it go
Wait
until
it
she's
out.
ready. And then I just gotta be like a fireman. I just gotta be ready. So
Hmm.
when the alarm goes off, I gotta jump on that pole and slide down and put my gear on and jump right in and and go for it, because so I'm always at the ready. I always said I wanted to be a fireman when I was younger, so I'm ready like a fireman at all times. So when she says, she gave me the look, let's go. No matter where we are, if we at a restaurant, if
Time to go home.
hey, we could be anywhere, and that just happens. I'm hoping this podcast is going pretty quick because I got it. But you never know what may happen. But but the the concept. At the end of the day, is like you have to really be connected, and once you connect, then you understand where that person is and what you can do. Because not tonight is not. You can't let it take over you and make it feel like this is all about you. Like talk it out. And that's the other
Mhm.
thing. I think it goes back to communication. We
Exactly.
got to communicate, because say something like, hey, you know what? I miss our intimacy, but I
Yeah.
understand something is going on. But whatever I can do to help alleviate that, you let me know, but like it's just missing it. And that's it. I mean, because this is my person. So I'm not interested in, you know, anywhere else. I want it with my person.
And I think it's important that we keep those lines of communications open, because we don't want that other person to feel like they're being slighted in any
Hmm.
way, that there's any outside other persons that's taking over your mindset. You know, I think it's also it has to be put upon the other person, like myself, to say, look, I'm not in a good place right now.
Hmm.
Like it's nothing against you. I'm going through this. To speak up as well, so that your partner will know, okay, whew, it's not about me.
And it's interesting that we don't recognize it in certain places.
Hmm.
So, you know, like I don't want to have an argument when I'm extremely hungry. I don't want to have an argument when I'm extremely tired. I want to have an argument when I'm sick because it's not going to be good.
Hmm.
Why doesn't it work for this as well? Like, there's other factors that may say, maybe I'm not in the mood. That doesn't have to relate to you. We take on this if not tonight, kind of situation, and we automatically assume it's because of the other person. Or no other factors when there's other things that could be a factor there. So we have to first stop there, and think about what those other factors are before we get to that point, because I think that's what gets couples in trouble. Is
Hmm.
that if you just give one reason. So the only reason she doesn't want me tonight is because she doesn't want me anymore. So I need to go somewhere else. You're like, no,
Yeah.
or I need to go talk to somebody. Like, no, it's like, how about you just have a conversation with your significant other and be like, what's going on? What
Yes.
can I do to help? And not about sex, just what can I do to
And I
help
think
you?
that's the biggest problem. We go right into talking about why you don't want to have sex with me, why you don't want to do this, instead of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you said earlier, to have that deep connection, not just about having intercourse or sex with each other or making love. It's not about just about that. It has to play into the relationship because
Hmm.
that's a natural part of life.
And sorry.
But it also has to be, like, what is bringing us to this?
Hmm.
Why are we at this point in our life? What do we need to do? What do we need to say? What needs to be done? Who do we need to talk to?
Yeah.
And I think once we get that down pat, the connection will never go away
Hmm.
because now you can read me and I can read you.
Yeah. I think about when early on, I had a feeling that it was rejection,
Mm-hmm.
and that word sparked a lot in you, and you
Yes.
didn't like it.
Didn't like it at all because it
But
was never a rejection.
but that's how it made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
But it made me feel that way because again, I was looking at it one sided. I was looking at it from my perspective, not taking into account your perspective. And the more we spoke about it and realizing that it's not that, and it's there's all these other things. Now I haven't felt that in years. Like, because it's not about rejection.
And
It's
that
really about
worried me.
I'm connecting with my person, so I know what's going on, and it's like, hey, you got something going on. Like, it's okay. Like it's
And it worried me that he thought that I was rejecting him. Like, no, you're my husband and I love you. It's not a rejection. You know, I mean, work was a really big, big bone of contention for me. And
yeah.
it kind of just made me feel some kind of way. Now, I didn't need to, it should not have, come into play into our intimate life. But my mind was so stuck on unhappiness at work and how do I make myself feel better at work that I brought it home.
But until you recognize what the issue is
Exactly.
yourself, it's hard. So I mean, it's not just intimacy that came into play. It came into play in regular life, and it
Yeah.
came into play for you on your own. So like,
Yeah.
either way, like once we recognize it, then we can say, oh, we know how to fix this. Like, let's adjust this. Let's
Hmm.
do this. And sometimes it's just a quick, hey, let's change our mindset. Like I know there's been times where um, we're coming from work and you've told me like, oh, today was a day, and it was like one of the things I said, you know what, we're gonna go grab something to eat out and just have a good
Yeah.
time, and it's just because it's gonna be do something different because the
Yeah.
routine is go home, we cook, we eat, we do this, and then you wake back up again, and you go right back to it. Versus let's throw a monkey wrench in there and do
Do
something a
something
little
different.
different, and that's fine because that way that allows you a little bit of solace to say, oh, I needed that,
Yeah.
and but that took connection. Because if you're not connected, then we just go with our routine.
And again, when we spoke about when he spoke about the rejection, I needed him to know that that's never where my mindset goes.
Mm-hmm.
Never. Um, I might not have handled it the best way to make him feel that way, but I think with the help of our therapist and how to communicate this better, helped a great deal.
It goes back to communication. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all because even with how you're feeling, you need to communicate that with your significant other.
Mm.
Like, because oftentimes we keep things,
To ourselves.
but it's like we gotta express it. I think the last week I was like, I got a lot going on at work. I'm stressed. I'm a little bit overwhelmed, but I'm getting through it. So it's like, okay, I know he's in a place,
Right.
And he's working, and also recognize that if he's saying that to me, he means he's also working to make sure he tries not to bring it into the home. Which so that means you got to give somebody a little grace.
Yes.
At that time, because it's not easy. It's not easy for me to not allow the stresses in life to go there. You're like, so I'm not sleeping. I wasn't sleeping well, or the other thing. And she recognized that, but then it's like, okay, I'm not gonna push on something.
That.
Yeah, and it may have been something that she wanted to discuss with me, but she's like, I'm not gonna do it right now because it's not there. And that's the same thing. Like if you can choose to say, I'm gonna back off because I understand that they're going through this, then it's the same thing when it's not tonight. Like, hey, maybe it's not time. It's cool. Like, look, we got the rest of our lives together. There's not a marathon. There's not a time period. There's not a checkbox. It's like that. When it comes, it's gonna come, and when it comes, it's good every time. So, hey, that we connected, and we're connected in such a deep way that that's never a factor for us. So.
And keeping in mind, it has never always been like that. I mean, we've come a long way to be able to even discuss this now and feel very comfortable with it.
I agree.
I think that's a big deal as well.
Yeah.
So I want to say this to my husband, like, thank you for giving me grace. Thank you for understanding. And know that I will jump your bones until your back is blown.
Oh, I like that. There we go. Y'all heard it. It's on tape now, so we got it on recording.
Oh my gosh, listen to him. No, but we're going to say this, talk to one another, give each other grace. Know that it's not about you per se. It's about the situations that are around you, the stressors, the anxieties, the things that just come into play that you try not to bring home. Yeah. And then knowing that we love each other and knowing that is half the battle.
That's it.
So, babe, we got some good news for you.
Big time.
I love when you do that. I love it. So we want to say thank you for listening. We appreciate you guys. Please subscribe, and if you like our podcast, give us a like on Facebook, shout out on Instagram, and guess what? Join us next week. Friday, April 26th. We're going to be
live and direct, baby,
at the Pink Palace Boutique. And we're going to discuss 6 different types of intimacy.
Ooh. Yes.
Yes. So get your questions ready. You're going to see this beautiful face and handsome face in person.
Next year?
Would you stop it?
Okay.
And then we're going to take some questions and we're going to talk about these 6 different types of intimacy. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a part of our intimacy series.
Yes.
So until next week, don't forget to tell your spouse, I love you.
I love you.
And know that you're my rock.
And you're my peace.
All right, people. We'll talk to you. See you all next week. Bye now.
Peace out.